This week we're coming back to the Rotavap, and I'm going to show you how I use it to make low temperature reductions and add intense vibrant splashes of fresh flavour to my menu. So the Rotavap is an incredible piece of equipment. I use it for distillation and to make my own gin, as well as for several other preparations on the menu. It gives you such precision control over flavours, and you can extract or concentrate flavours in a vacuum without applying heat to them. I've got a video coming up on how I use the Rotavap for distillation and to make my own gin, but today I'm going to focus on showing you how I use it to concentrate the flavour of rhubarb and use that in one of my signature dishes. Making a reduction is one of the simplest and most classical ways that you can intensify a flavour. Boiling water out of a product until you've concentrated it down to get this really intensified concentrated flavour. Making a reduction on the hob is the simplest way to do this, and that's fine for some ingredients, but for anything with fresh flavours, you're going to damage those delicate aromatics by applying heat. The Rotavap allows you to make these concentrations of flavour, but in a vacuum, and in a vacuum liquids boil at a lower temperature, so I'm able to evaporate the water off my ingredient, concentrating its flavour but without ever heating it above room temperature, so you keep all the freshness and the vibrancy of the flavour. So now I'm going to show you how I do that with rhubarb, which is one of my favourite ingredients and something that grows fantastically here in the north of the UK. So first off, to prepare my rhubarb juice, I'm going to cut my rhubarb stalks into pieces and put them through a juicer. Then to get a nice clean clear juice to start off with, I'm actually going to put my fresh rhubarb juice through a centrifuge. It helps to give you a really pure, clear start point. Then to this clarified rhubarb juice I add some sugar, a dash of water, and a little beetroot juice, both for its earthy base note flavour and to balance against the rhubarb's acidity. It also helps to emphasise the pink colour that we associate with rhubarb. This mixture goes into a glass flask and I attach it to the Rotavap. The Rotavap is hooked up to a vacuum and I can reduce the pressure in the machine, and in a vacuum liquids boil at a lower temperature, so I can boil my rhubarb juice mixture at just 35 degrees Celsius. In fact, it's actually even lower than that. With the evaporative cooling, the liquid in the flask is actually at about 30 degrees Celsius. By spinning the flask, I can increase the surface area of the liquid, speeding up the rate at which it evaporates. It takes a little bit of getting used to manage the various factors that control the rate of evaporation. It's a case of balancing the heat of the water bath, the rotation speed, the level of vacuum, and the temperature of the condensing coils. Like all cooking, this is a mixture of science and craft, and something that you get used to as you gain more experience doing it. It's partly theory and understanding, and partly by feel and intuition. So the water's being evaporated out of the rhubarb mixture, concentrating its flavour and making a reduction at low temperature. I reduce this mixture by about half until I get a syrupy, sweet and sour rhubarb molasses with a flavour that's similar to pomegranate molasses, but with the intense aromatics of rhubarb. It's a really beautiful sauce, truly delicious and both exotic feeling and also comfortingly nostalgic. I serve this as part of something of a signature dish on my menu. I take halloumi and marinate it in rose shiokoji, which breaks down some of the protein in the halloumi and gives it this soft, marshmallowy texture. I cook that in a charcoal batter and then I serve it with a chive and caper emulsion and a little of this rhubarb molasses for the guests to pour at the table. It's a really beautiful dish and I can't imagine it coming off my menu anytime soon. And because it's only a couple of elements, each of those elements has to be really striking in flavour, and using the low temperature reduction in the Rotavap allows me to do that with the rhubarb. I'll have a video coming soon on how I make my own gin in the Rotavap, or if you're watching this in the future, then maybe that's already out. If you've enjoyed this video, then give me a like and hit subscribe so you'll see more of this sort of thing from me in the future. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.